This is a video about grinders. That's my word for a rep that is very, very hard to get. A rep that almost doesn't happen. Um, a rep that comes as close as you can to not making it and still make it. And that's a true max. It's truly everything you have. You're truly at your limit when you barely make a rep. When you hit a PR and it sort of goes up slowly but smoothly, that's not really demanding everything you have. A true max, where you have to empty every part of your body, mind, and soul into a rep, it almost misses. It comes so close to missing that sometimes it stalls, it slows down, sometimes it even stops. And you reach deep at that point and you find a way to grind the rep up. And there's a video on Elite FTS, and if it's not up soon, it will be uh, post haste that Dave and the crew shot, where I trained some people down there through some of these grinders. And the grinders are about the quintessential part of powerlifting. Every sport has a big deal. It has a defining thing about it. Maybe for baseball, that could be the home run. I mean, that's the thing about baseball that sort of, now it's not everything, but it's the big deal, right? We make more out of it than we make out of other things, and every sport has that. Every activity has that. Um, and for powerlifting, it's the one rep max. It's the one rep max, not just a personal record where you do the best you've ever done for one rep. It's when it takes everything that you've got to get that rep. Your eyeballs are bursting out, your teeth are clenched and breaking fillings out, and maybe even straining a muscle from time to time. I mean, everything you've got, all your willpower, all your desire, and all your training come to one moment in time, and the bar starts to move up, and then it starts to slow down. And as it's slowing down, a lot of times you panic. There's that moment of realization that, oh my God, I really have to try as hard as I can to get this. And that's what I call the moment of truth. It's the moment where if you don't do something different or better or more, if you don't take an action that's above and beyond all the actions you've already taken, you're not going to make it. It's the do or die moment. And I posted on my Instagram about this happens in combat sports and things where there's sometimes one moment in a contest where an athlete or a combatant knows that if he makes the right choice, he'll be victorious, and if he makes the wrong choice, things aren't going to go well. And that's the moment in powerlifting where the bar almost comes to a stop, or does come to a stop, and you have to find a way to win. You have to do something, and you have to grind that bar to the top, to victory. And so, without belaboring that point about it being so important of a moment, that moment is hard to train because it's hard to get to, because it only happens, you only learn what it's like to push with all your might when the bar is coming to a stop. It's gonna stop if you don't come up with more. What you've pushed with so far isn't gonna make it all the way to the top, and you got to dig deep for more of what it takes to keep that bar going up. And those are few and far between. Those are usually at meets or at the end of a training cycle when you try for a new max, a new PR. So they don't happen at regular intervals. They're rare. But that's the moment in powerlifting. That's the moment. It's the crowning moment of the sport. It's what we really all do it for. It's to overcome something that is almost unovercomable, and to walk away saying, I did that and I'm proud of myself. That's the moment. And in that moment where the bar starts to slow down, time, stretches out, and you've got all kinds of time in your head to think about things, and also to pay attention and learn things if you don't panic. So that's a really important moment to understand the end all be all of powerlifting. If you did it for muscles, um, you'd have plenty of muscle long before you had to keep pushing yourself like this. And if you did it for strength for a sport, you'd have enough strength in a couple years of training. I'm talking about if you're a serious powerlifter and you're pursuing all the strength that you can, that you have the potential to create. And so you're past all the, I did it to be big, and I did it to be strong. I did it so I wouldn't get beat up. I did it to play a sport better. You're past all that, and what you're in it for is to be at that moment of truth, that moment where things come to a head and you find out what you're made of. And I call that the grinder. You grind those reps home, and when you're victorious, there's an enormous reward. And when you're not victorious, there's still an opportunity to learn, but you don't learn as much when you don't grind the rep up and be victorious as you do when it does go up. You just know you need to try harder some way. But when you actually grind it up and you find a way in your heart and in your head and in your body to get through that moment of truth, if you pay attention, you know how you did it. You learned how to do it. You did it. And trying to do it is one thing, and that teaches you something. But actually grinding a rep home where it starts to go up and it stalls and you find a way to finish it, that teaches you how to do that. And that's what powerlifting is all about. It's being at that level, not making easy PRs. It's about being at the place where you want to find out how much you're capable of. And so since that's so rare, I invented this system of I came up with the drill that worked for me and other people to help get to this moment more regularly. And I call them grinders. And what you do is you take, let's say you're bench pressing, and you take a weight that you can do a 3 rep max or a 4 rep max with. So you can get either 3 or 4 reps with this weight. And then you do repetitions, and I, as the spotter and or coach, would hold my hand out at about the point in the range of motion where you're likely to encounter that moment of truth. We call it the sticking point. Perhaps you are familiar already with your sticking point in the bench, squat, and deadlift, and your bigger lifts, even the dumbbell curl on a preacher. You know where things get hard, and that's most likely where the moment of truth is going to come if you're really at your max. And so as a coach, I'll put my hand there, and as the athlete raises the bar up, now remember, this isn't a 1 rep max that's on the bar. They can do this for 3 or 4 reps. So they can absolutely get it. What I do is I facilitate a false stall. As the bar is coming up, I block it with just enough force to slow it down to burn all that momentum that they have out. And I make it stall. I make it come almost to a stall. Or sometimes I just stall it and see if they can push it out. Now remember, this isn't their 1 rep max, so they know they can lift this weight, right? But what that teaches them is where to look in the motor cortex, but in the willpower. In the willpower of where do I look for strength when I seem to be out? Do I look in my heart? Do I look in my head? And yes, the answer is yes to both of those. But if you have to wait for competitions and 1 rep max loads to find it, you don't get a lot of practice. And you can't do that a lot because if you're always doing 1 rep maxes that are true maxes, it's too much wear and tear on the joints and the system. It's hard to recover from. So this, by using a 3 or 4 rep max, is easier to recover from. And we sort of artificially create that situation where the bar's coming up and then it's being blocked or slowed down just enough so that the athlete has to feel the same way they're going to feel when that actually happens with a max load. And you can do 2 or 3 or 4 reps that way in a set. And I think athletes can survive 12 to 14, 16 reps of that in a workout. It takes a little skill to know how to slow the bar down without creating a jerk or a block, and then how to let off without letting the bar go and letting it snap up. But that's something you can learn in a couple workouts with your training partners or your coach. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to be at that do or die moment more frequently than you would in a normal just waiting for it to happen organically. You're facilitating it happening. You're artificially creating more of these opportunities to learn what to do when the bar starts to stall and you start to run out of steam and you start to run out of strength and you don't want to miss this rep. This one matters. And that's going to happen in meets, but here we can make it happen over and over again as part of training. Now, this is not really necessarily a physical training exercise. It's much, much more of a mental training drill. And it's more valuable at the beginning of a career than at the end. Once you know where to look for, once you know how to dig deep and where to dig to find what you need to bring it out and win, you know that. But, a lot of people midway through their career don't know what that means or where to look every time. Sometimes they dig in the right spot and they find it. Other times they miss it. Well, this teaches you to know right where to go because you're practicing it over and over again. You're coming up against a bar to stall, and that moment of truth that either I do something or this isn't going to go. I'm going to lose, I'm going to fail, or I am going to find a way to not fail, to win, to succeed, to be successful. And you definitely don't want to create a lot of failures here. You want to create a lot of near failures that the athlete learns to push through and be successful. Then they'll know where to look for it over and over and over. And late in your career, you won't have to do this at all, but early in your career, you should do it a lot until you really, really understand where to go inside your head and inside your heart. When I say the term dig deep, dig deeper, try harder, you know what that means. It means something specific to you. Like, yeah, I know exactly where to go. I know exactly what to do. I've done this before. I know where it's at. When I need it, I know where to get it. When I need more, I know where I keep that. And this is a great way to learn that. So on the Elite FTS website or possibly the YouTube, there'll be some of these videos of me training people this way and explaining this again. But I wrote a little bit about it on my Instagram today, and I thought I would put this YouTube video to more fully explain it and its value. It's valuable because a lot of people don't know what to do when the shit hits the fan. And sometimes by accident they do well. And sometimes not. Wouldn't you like to know every time where to go to get more? Now that doesn't mean that you're always going to come up with what it takes, but it means you're not going to be scrambling around looking for that. And you see this with, here's an example of how it happens in the body when you know somebody is scrambling and they don't know where to look. When they're doing a bench press and the bar starts to stall and their legs start to dance around. They start hopping their calves and they wiggle their legs and stuff. Moving your legs and your calves is not going to help you lock a bar out with your triceps. But they're scrambling around inside their head in the motor cortex, and they're flexing muscles that can't even help. They're gritting their teeth and they're squeezing the bar and they're doing all kinds of things in a panicked effort to squeeze that bar through. And they get all wobbly and loosey-goosey, and I call it the dance of weakness in jest. But what it is it's a dance of I don't know where to look for the extra strength that I need in my chest, shoulders, and triceps to finish this rep. And so they're looking all over for it. And if you've seen that, you know what I'm talking about. And if you've done that, you understand the panic of a bar that you want to lift telling you no. And you telling the bar, oh yes you will. And knowing where to go to get what it takes to pay that cost. And that's what these grinders teach. So they're a facilitated false near failure that a coach or so you put some pressure on smoothly to slow it down, and then you take the pressure off smoothly to let it win. And it's not that hard to understand, and it's real easy to feel, and it's super valuable, not just for the physical rewards of making a personal best lift, but putting yourself on the line like this and learning how to come through, how to grind through. Remember, we don't want to just block it and have people struggle, because that'll train the system, but it doesn't train you to win. It doesn't train you to break through and keep trying. But putting yourself on the line teaches you self-confidence in a way that teaches you to trust yourself. If you can trust yourself, you're far more likely to walk into situations and choose situations that are difficult for you. If you're not so familiar with trusting yourself, and you're not so certain if you can trust yourself, you will shy away from challenge opportunities when they come your way, more so than if you do have that faith in yourself, that trust. So these grinders teach not only a physical skill of how to reach the motor cortex that's actually valuable in a bench press, squat, or deadlift, they also teach you how to find faith in yourself by coming through over and over and over as a matter of practice and habit and training. You can train yourself to come through for yourself. And this is one way to do that. This is a very good way, and it has direct application back to your lift. There's plenty of places you can put yourself on the line and either come through for yourself or not. But this one has direct application to all of your lifts that you want to try this on. And of course, I use it in the bench press, but you could use it on, I also use it in all kinds of single joint motions, like, preacher curls and things like that. You can use it in anything, and you can get the same rewards from it, physical, mental. And then I really believe that you teach yourself how to count on yourself by doing a lot of these. And once you know how to do that, once you know you're not going to let yourself down, boy, the world changes. You look for challenges then. You start looking around for more challenge in your life and more growth in your life. Because it's a joy. It's a joy to test yourself and not come up wanting. It's a joy to come through for yourself. It feels great. And it can be addicting. Maybe that's part of what we do. Maybe there's an addiction to that coming through and setting new PRs. I won't argue that. It's a better addiction than a lot of other ones I've had. I can say that. So either way, though, it's a good thing. And so I call them grinders. You can call them whatever you want. There's probably a much better technical term for it. Some sort of isokinetic um, sticking point resist. You know, you could come up with a really clever name. I call them grinders because I just love the feeling of grinding reps out. And I have found that in my training, this is the quintessential lesson of powerlifting. When the bar says no, you say yes. Quintessential. That's where it all comes down to that. For me, it did. And every record I set, and every PR that I achieved, and every training rep that I got that was difficult came down to this exact same moment of truth. The moment when the bar almost stopped, and I found a way to get it. And that's how you build lots of things, including strength, and lots of things inside. So look those things up on the Elite FTS, and check out my Instagram if you haven't seen it. Today's the 4th of November. That's when I put it up. This is worth really delving into. I will probably do more videos on this, and because this is the big deal about powerlifting, in my opinion. And again, this is definitely just an opinion, but I have something to say about it, and I'm glad you listened. Thanks.